Don't you?
You do.
Now I think I forget more than I ever remembered.
But you remember
But
now.
I think too you're impressed by everything when you're a kid. Like uh, there was a lagoon. They called it the lagoon. It was a recreational, like Chester Park or one of those places. It was down there, and they used to have cars that would go around the racetrack. One time, one of those got off, started the whole place on fire, and that was the end of the lagoon.
Oh.
Uh,
Was it really a lagoon? Was it a real?
Yeah, there was a lake there, and there was a small place where the kids could go paddling, and they kept that real clean. But then the lagoon, it was a pretty good sized place. They had a big dance hall. It was really high class. I can remember the cars, street cars, on like Friday and Saturday night. They'd be just, they were dinkies. Those were little cars, They didn't have those big cars, and they'd go down to the lagoon, and it's this thing. The dance hall closed about 11 o'clock, but and then that water flowed over under the street to the river. And that was a long time ago.
Did you go
See,
to?
and that's where that was the start of Devou Park. The road through Devou Park came from the lagoon, and they have still somewhat of a road up through there. It's not that picturesque or kept. It was kept. They had flowers and everything around. It's just a road. It comes up from Ludlow, was down by the river, Ludlow and Brumley, and it comes up through the hills to Port Mitchell, over past Betty's house.
Did you live down there? Did you live in Ludlow?
Yeah, we lived in on the, it was West Oak Street. It was the it was a big school right across from us, and then there was one of those real old time schools where they came in from, it had about 8 doors. It was really, they tore that down. It was real picturesque.
Is that where you went to school?
It was a public school, but we went to the Catholic school, which was about 2 squares away.
What was the name of the school where you went?
St. James. And then there was St. Boniface was just about a square away from us. It was German, and they taught German. we, we, we were Irish. We didn't know the German, And the priest used to come out walking. He'd always, I used to slip through the alley so I couldn't understand him, and he'd want to talk to me. Father Low Shelter. Isn't that's as clear as if it happened yesterday. It was a beautiful church, but there were a lot of German people, and of course we went to the Irish church.
What was that church?
St. James.
St. James.
It was about 2 or 3 squares away from. St. Boniface was just about a square away, but what they were saying anyhow. So we used to go up this. I went to school at St. James too.
Did
They had Sisters of Charity of Nazareth. That's down in Kentucky, Nazareth, Kentucky, taught there. But now they don't have any school at all there.
Is the church still there?
The church is there, and the priest is trying to build it up, but it's a poor community. I mean, see, they had the railroad there, and had a lot of business, places where they built things, and that's all gone. I don't know whether they say there's still, the depot is still there, but the trains never stopped there.
Not anymore. That was a big hub.
Oh,
Ludlow.
yeah. yeah. It was oh, they hired a lot of people, at the railroad. I think three-fourths of Ludlow worked as a railroad. Mom's brothers all worked there, and her father.
He worked on the great big engines.
Oh,
Her dad?
oh yeah, they were. It was a big place, and of course the trains stopped there. They had a nice depot, and the train stopped there. All there's nothing there. There's no kind of. And Mrs. Thomas's candy. You remember her? She had a real big place in Ludlow. It's gone.
That's
They don't
where she
have
started? Mrs.
any.
Thomas's Candy started down there? Is that where she started from? Mrs. Thomas's Candy
Oh
started down
yeah. Oh, she had a big place that was all painted white. It was beautiful, but that's gone. There's no. I don't think there's anything that any kind of work that men could do. They have to go out of town to work.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to La Salette in Covington
How did you get there?
on the streetcar.
Streetcar. Okay.
Yeah, you got 2 tickets for 5 cents.
Is that where all
You
the-
got a strip of them, but I had to transfer, or else walk that couple of squares to get to La Salette was at 7th and Greenup, and that's over by closer to Newport. It's not Newport. The river goes between Covington and Newport. The Licking River.
Yeah. Did you ever walk?
You're getting history.
No, that's what we're after, yeah.
I won't bore you anymore.
No, that's what we want to know about.
We could take the streetcar up to, they have a transfer station around, the courthouse used to be there. I don't know whether it's there anymore.
It's still there.
But, and we could transfer, it was better to walk than to wait for the streetcar to go up Greenup.
Now, when did you all move out here to this house? When did you all move to your new house here on the corner?
In I forgot.
How old were you? Do you remember how old you were?
I was out of high school, I think.
Was that fun when you moved out here to the big house?
That's when, yeah. But see, I didn't know anybody out here then. I had finished school and I stayed home a couple years because Mom had, the younger kids were coming up.
Did you watch the kids?
Oh yeah. My mother did. She worked hard, with all. We had eight children. And
Now, how did they go? Who was the oldest?
Catherine,
And then who?
Mary, Owen,
Okay.
Nell, Johnny, Bob, Bill, Ruth, Jim, and
Wow.
You think you're going through the litany, don't you?
So you had to watch the kids.
Well, then we moved out here, and I can't remember.
It doesn't matter.
I just can't remember when we moved out the year after I finished high school,
How did you
and I didn't know anybody.
How did you end up going to nursing school? How did you go to nursing school?
Well, I always wanted to be, and my one aunt said, "Would you like to be a nurse?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "I'll get you an appointment with the nun over there." And the next day I was over there. Well, my father didn't like that. He thought I should stay home and help with the kids and help my mother. He didn't like that at all.
So you went anyway.
Yeah, I went over. I used to come home every day. We'd have class until about 2:30, and then I'd come home and have to go back over there by 7 in the morning. get the first bus out.
Did you stay on when you were
Well,
going to
see,
nurses?
when you after you go through the primary, it's like 2 or 3 months. Well, then had a room over there. I uh, they, all the kids in my group were up on the 5th and 6th floor, but I was down with the seniors.
How did you like that?
Well, I got a lot more done than they did. They had every night they had a party.
You didn't go to any of their parties? Come on, Grandma, you didn't
And
go to any of their parties?
see, you weren't supposed to go between, you know, the different grades were on different floors, and the 5th and 6th floor were the freshmen, and I was down on the 2nd floor.
Did you like nursing school?
Oh, yeah, I like nursing. I liked it a lot.
You graduated first in your class? Did you graduate first in your class?
Yeah.
That's great. That's
I-
great.
But I liked it, and of course, I didn't have anybody to horse around with. The kids in my group were all up on the 5th and 6th floor. They were having parties every night. Honest, they did.
That's what they do in college.
And you weren't supposed to go between floors. You know, you're supposed to stay on your floor. If you were on the 2nd floor, you were supposed to stay there. Not, but they didn't do that. They'd go. Instead of the elevator, the nun would be watching on the elevator, and they'd go up the steps.
Did you ever go down to see the Reds play?
Please.
Did you go see the Reds play? Did you ever go down to Crossley Field?
Oh yeah. We on Ladies' Day, if we were off, see, you had to go to class like so many hours in the morning, and then from like 3 or 4 to 7 you had class, and you had to attend those, or your name was mud.
How did you get?
We'd go down for the, but it was heck coming up that hill.
You walk. You had to walk?
Yeah, oh yeah. It wasn't bad going down, you know, it's all downhill. That was when they were in the old place.
What did Crossley Field look like? What was Crossley Field like?
Oh, it was like a country ballpark, and they had, well, it was real country.
But you were right there with the ball players. You were so close.
Oh yeah. That's what I don't like about the ballpark now, because the players are way out, and you sit way back, where the players would be sitting as close as you and I to the first row of seats. And of course, a lot of people didn't like to be there because ball would come back once in a while, but the nurses usually could get those seats, or else the top ones.
Do you remember any of the ball players? Do you remember seeing anybody play down at Crossley Field? Like any of the ball players' names?
I used to. I don't know them anymore. I don't. Oh yeah, they would sit as close to you as I am. They would sit they sat on benches, and you were right in back of them. They didn't have that big space in there that you can hardly tell who's who.
Yeah.
Now I don't like it now. I mean, I haven't been down for a long time, but it seemed like you sat so far from the field and from the players that you didn't. They would sign your anything you had. If you had a book from school, they would sign that. You know. That was the good old days.
That is.
But now the players are stuffy, I think.
They
Don't
make too
you?
much money.
They
Yeah,
wonder who they are. I mean, it seems like they're not human. They don't talk with you like the other way. Well, in the olden days.
Did you ever see Babe Ruth play, or anybody, any of the big like Mickey Mantle or any of those people played? Did you remember seeing any of them play?
Oh yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
really?
Oh yeah. Some of those. Yeah, uh, uh, they. Uh, it was altogether different. It's more like It was more like Sandlot. You know, the players, they didn't have all the jazz that they have now, and special places for them to sit and all that. You know, it was kind of down to earth. I think. I mean, I don't like it. Now you're so far away from the player, you just almost need opera glasses.
That's true, you do.
uh, th- you're, I don't think they associate with the people like the olden time. They talk to you and uh, sometimes come up in the stand. Of course, it wasn't a stand like they have now. You know, it was just the old time a roof over it.
What did they sell to eat? Do you remember like buying anything to eat? Did they have peanuts? What did they sell?
Oh yeah, they had peanuts and popcorn, and they had hot dogs there a lot of time.
How much were they? Do you remember how much it was, how much it cost?
A hot dog might be a dime or 15 cents.
What is it now? It's like six, as it was, I think it's now.
The good old days.
I think it's $5 now or something outrageous. It's so expensive.
That's well, and I think I don't think the players are as friendly now. I think they would talk to you and they'd be stand up at the fence and talk to you or come over by the seats and talk to people. You don't see that now. I think they all got the big head.
What did you do after you graduated from nursing school?
What let's see, what year? I don't know.
Did you get a job?
I-
Did you work at the hospital when
I-
after you graduated?
Yeah, I did some private duty. You know, people didn't have private duty nurses. It cost $4 a day to have
Where did you go? Where did you have private duty?
I usually the hospital will call. You know, you get on the registry at the hospital, and they would call you. I already went to Mount Washington, but I went there. He was a real rich guy, and I had to walk like a mile and a half to his house. He had a big fancy house, and I worked at night, and I go at 6 o'clock in the morning, or 7, and walk to the end of the line to come home, and it'd take me about an hour and a half, 2 hours to get home.
How did you get there? Did you go on a bus?
Yeah, a bus came, but the bus didn't come. He had an estate, out fancy stuff, out from the peons. He was out, had an estate and had a big home, and then I have to walk down to the end where the streetcar or the bus came in town.
How long did you?
I only worked. I had to quit. I couldn't. I was afraid all the time to walk on the highway at 6 o'clock in the morning, or when I'd be going there at night. That's the only job I ever. I told Mike I couldn't. I couldn't. It was too far. I had to walk like a mile on a country road.
And how much did they pay you?
I think it was 50 cents an hour.
50 cents an hour.
It might, I think it was. I'm not sure anymore.
Now, did you work in the hospital? Did you ever be a
Oh
nurse
yeah,
in the hospital?
yeah.
Okay.
I worked a lot as a registered nurse. You'd be the head nurse on the floor then. I
What was your favorite in the hospital? What was your favorite part of the hospital? Any special?
I kind of like surgery. I think you see them when they're real sick, but they most of the time it seems like they recover kind of fast, you know. Uh, they heal fast, and it wasn't a long drawn out sickness. I didn't, I don't like I don't like to see sick people.
No, no, no.
I mean, when if they used I mean, but they kept them in about 9 days, I think, for surgery, maybe appendix, and they keep them in pretty long for that. Of course, you were well healed.
That's
now they get you up to they get you up the same day, I think.
right out the
and
door.
take a little walk.
Yeah. Now, they didn't have air conditioning. How did you work it? Because the people were so uncomfortable because it was hot.
Well,
How did you?
we had fans, just regular fans,
Mhm.
but they wouldn't, they'd blow them up against the wall or something so that it wasn't blowing right on the patient. But just little fans.
Yeah.
And some poor souls didn't have that.
Oh, I can't imagine.
You had to have a private room to have a fan in your room. Times have changed, haven't they?
Yes.
Uh,
Now, how did you meet Grandpa? How did you meet Grandpa?
Uh, See, we moved to the house down the street, and they used to live next door. That was their home, and I got to know Adelaide. Adelaide was Ferd's sister, and she was going out with Joe Lou, and lived in the house next to ours up at the end of this. It was a little yellow bungalow, and Joe Lou, and he had a big car, and so he was going to take Adelaide a ride, and Ferd and I rode with him.
So that's how you met Grandpa?
That's how, yeah. But see, then I went. I didn't see very much of him because I went over to the hospital, and he didn't get much time off.
Did you go on dates?
Not not very. Sometimes we'd go to a show once in a while. We'd take a ride. That was the most anybody did then. Take a ride out in the country or downtown, or go down to the dime stores. Big stuff.
What was Grandpa doing? Was he in school? What was Grandpa doing?
He worked at it was an X-ray down in Covington. It was called Kelly Cat. They moved away, but I don't know where they. It was a pretty big organization. They started X-ray. I mean, they experimented in X-rays, and it got. He wasn't in that part. He was in the office. He didn't have anything to do with the the picture part of it.
What did he do in the office? Was he accounting or what?
Yeah,
Okay.
He took that. I think he took that in high school. Yeah, he bookkeeping and all that kind of junk.
And then, when did you get married?
What year?
Do you remember when you got married?
34, I think it was. I'm not sure though.
What date? Do you remember what day of what month and what day?
No, I can't. It just lately it's all I forgot.
Do you remember your wedding dress? What did you wear?
Oh yeah, I had a satin dress. Of course, I was skinny then, and
You're skinny now.
oh no,
Do you
no,
still have
I
your
was
dress?
I was. It had points on the sleeve,
Where did you have it made? Where did you get your dress?
I think it was McAlpin's. It may have been Pogues. I don't know. I can't remember now. But it had a long train. It was sort of. It wasn't white or yellowy. It was like just an off-white ivory, they called it. And it had a long train. It just folded out, and it had points in the sleeve, and the neck was kind of it wasn't low. It wasn't down to here. It was up to here, just a little point. Isn't that some things you can remember and some things you can't?
Now, did you have a veil?
Uh,
Did you have a veil? On your head, did you have a veil?
oh, yeah. I, Catherine had got married before, and I had hers done over. It had fancy stuff up here, with beads in it. It might be down home, might be up in the cedar closet.
Do you still have your wedding dress? Do you still have
I
your?
had, see, I was skinny then.
Is it down at your house down there? Do you still have your wedding?
I don't know whether I don't know whether I think they might have used it for Halloween.
Oh, no, not your wedding dress. No.
It was, of course I was skinny, and it had points on the sleeves, and I had a long train.
You got married in the wintertime. You were married like in February? Was it winter time?
Yeah, it was February.
Do you remember what your flowers looked like? What did you carry for flowers?
They used to have the ugliest flowers. They were pretty white roses, but they were all a bunch, they didn't have any design at all. It was a hunk of flowers, that's all, and a whole bunch of green stuff dragging around. Isn't that something?
Who was your maid of honor? Who was the maid of honor? Who was your maid of honor?
Nell.
Who's your maid of honor? Did she have a pretty dress?
I don't know whether she wore a dress. I can't remember. I honestly can't remember.
What did Grandpa wear? Did Grandpa wear a suit or did he have a tux? What did Grandpa wear?
No, he just wore a dark suit. Oh no, they didn't wear tuxes like they do now.
Now, where were you married? Where were you married?
Where was I married? I think I was married up close to Sacrament.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the church like then?
But see, it wasn't a church like this. It was like a school, like auditorium of a school, and you had to come like in the side, and my veil got caught on the back pew. That was the worst. I thought that must have been 5 miles long.
Now, did you have a reception afterwards? Did you have a reception?
Yeah. We went out. It's still out there, but it's not. I can't think of it. Yeah, we had a reception there. They used to have like a breakfast, and then you invited the people to that breakfast instead of a reception. We had a little reception at home afterward.
Did you go on a honeymoon? Where did you go away? Did you and Grandpa go on a honeymoon?
Yeah, we went down in Kentucky somewhere. I don't know where. It was, isn't that funny? And we stayed. We didn't have a fancy hotel room. We stayed in like one of those overnight camper places.
Now, what did you wear? Didn't you have a pretty suit? You had a going-away suit?
Yeah, I did have a nice suit. It was a really pretty one. I wore it a lot.
What color was it?
A blue.
And then you went to dinner. What happened when you went to dinner?
Well, we had our dinner out at I think she's investigating something. It's a place out the highway. They still have dinners there. I can't. Isn't that funny? But it was a nice place, and we had. It was just you didn't have every Tom, Dick, and Harry. You just had your your family, and some friends or something. You didn't have all your neighbors and everybody. Of course, we had just moved out here, and I didn't know anybody out here.
When did you build your house? When did you build this house?
It was, we moved right in it. I mean, it wasn't This was it. We never lived anywhere else.
You built your house and then
Uh-huh.
got married.
Yeah, it was almost finished. And I know bed upstairs wasn't completely finished, but the downstairs, that was the bedroom in the dining room, uh, and had the kitchen and the living room, and that's all we had.
Who built your house?
Uh, Trudy and Zimmerman.
They did a nice job.
Uh,
Did you have to pick
oh,
out everything?
they were Germans, and they uh, came over here, and Pop got them. My father was a plumber, and he got them started, and they built most of the little houses back on Pleasant Ridge. They're little houses, but that's how they got their start. And then they built one. It was on one side of the street, and the other's on the down at the end of the street. I don't know whether you ever walked down there,
You and I walked
but
down there.
there's people that live in there, and they're, I think, two sisters. One lives on one side, and the other one lives on the other side. But they don't allow people from Trudy and Zimmerman. You could come back in there, and take pictures or do anything. I mean, they let you come back. But these people they have a gate, and nobody goes back in there. They have well, they're grown children now.
How did you get the plans for your house? How did you know what kind of house you wanted?
Oh, I don't.